Alright, so if you caught the video a little while ago, we had released what appeared to be some data mined information regarding the PTR patch notes that are coming up. It appears Blizzard probably wasn't too happy about that because they are saying below you'll find the preliminary PTR patch notes. I'm not too sure how much they put up preliminary notes, but I figured they were going to take advantage of it and put out their own stuff. So we're going to scroll through here just briefly. A couple of things, if you already watched the video, will look very familiar, but it hasn't been up that long, so we'll go over what we know so far with the preliminary patch notes. A couple things that are going on here. This is long overdue. The ever-evolving goblin, which has been an issue for numerous years as far as, hey, there's one here. All the different identifiers they could have made known. It would have been really nice to know if it's been killed or has escaped, and that's finally a way to do it. Players can no longer go brawling while in a greater rift they paid to enter is open. That's pretty neat. I'm not sure how many times that happened. If you're a brawler, that's cool for you. Healing is no longer called healing. It's going to be called recovery, and that is an estimate of how much toughness you are expected to be able to recover in combat, and is calculated using a combination of your healing life and toughness. You're pretty familiar with that. The healing number will still be viewable in the character sheet if you mouse over the recovery stat, so you'll still be able to see a lot of that, and it looks like they're just going to sum up a lot of that, so that's pretty interesting. Life per vitality has been increased from level 67 to 70. Base life at level 70 has been increased, so it looks like obviously they don't want to just redo everything and make everybody hit the same number on greater rifts, so it looks like they're going to be, adding some defensive stuff going on. And we'll go through a lot of this. So extra life is certainly one way to help out, and that should go a long way, unless they just buff the monster damage, which I'm not sure if that's going to happen. Healing from health globes has been reduced. They continue to drop this number. I know that they reduced the number of health globes, but it looks like they're now reducing the healing from it, and that's okay. It looks like they're pushing a lot towards life regen coming up, and we'll cover some of that in some of the future patches and a lot of stuff that's going to be going on. The total number, let's go to the social aspect. The total number of players in a community and in community chat will now be displayed on the roster page. So there's going to be a couple different things. This is just more UI stuff that is, just good for the players. The presence information displayed in clan and community rosters, and the friends list is now more detailed. Be curious to see exactly how detailed. Right now it's pretty basic, and I don't think a lot of people look at it too much, but that'll be pretty neat. The clan roster will now display the duration that a member has been offline. That'll be interesting because some of the friends, I don't like to friend everybody. I like to, bring them into the clan, meet people that way. It's a lot easier to kind of keep track of the actual people in your friends list. At least this way you'll know who's been offline and who's around a little bit more. And it can actually be sorted by offline. Returning to a lot of the stuff with the classes, and that's kind of the main point in most of the areas that you're going to be looking for when you look at the PTR notes. General improvements have been made to the prioritization of abilities that utilize damage shields. For example, cheat deaths, absorb shields, and percent damage reduction. Now that's huge. There's a lot of passives out there. The monk has an ability. There's a couple different things. I know the wizard has one, so there's going to be some interesting stuff coming again. Like I said, it seems like they're finding a way to bump up your health, then be able to utilize a couple different elements that a lot of people don't necessarily use right now. I think they're making a big step towards that. Again, I'm really curious to see how this is going to go for a lot of the channeling skills. Those are my favorite skills on the wizard, and it looks like they're making a push to make those a little bit more viable, which they rightfully should. Pets. Several monster attacks that are intended to be avoided by players that weren't already dealing reduced damage to pets now deal significantly less damage to pets. So that's going to be a big boost. You guys know I play a witch doctor, and when you take your pets into certain higher greater rifts, they just get absolutely destroyed. And it is absolutely impossible to play with a pet doctor up to a certain point, and that's pretty depressing. If you're an old school Diablo player, or maybe you like the old skeleton, stuff like that, it would be really neat to be able to take your pet build in there and actually make it somewhere. So far, Barbarian, Active Skills, Frenzy, the Skill Rune, Vanguard movement speed increase. Not a whole lot going on there. I'm sure there's going to be a lot more coming for the Barbarian. As we talked about during the BlizzCon announcement, there's going to be a lot going on in terms of the Whirlwind and the Return of the Whirlwind. I'm really excited about that. Demon Hunter, it looks like there's a lot of changes so far. I think they're trying to get away from the Marauders build. We're going to find that out. Some of the stuff that they showed us as far as the gear, it definitely looks like there's going to be some changes, maybe even some enhancements based on some of the stuff that we saw on the data mine. Whether that makes it in or not, we'll find out. Chakrams, Serpentine is being changed from poison to cold. Hopefully they'll change the name of it. You think serpent, you think poison because you think green. Hopefully they change that, the name of that. I wouldn't be too mad if they did. Evasive Fire, damage type change from poison to physical on the rune for Parting Gift. It looks like they're changing a lot of stuff. That way you can kind of change the elemental part of your builds. And again, when all of this comes out, we're going to be streaming this. We're going to be doing a lot of different stuff. So feel free to subscribe as more information comes along. We're going to give it to you guys. We're going to do a lot of PTR stuff and kind of give you guys a lot of heads up on what to look for. Grenade, skill rune, gas grenades has been removed, now replaced with cold grenades. It looks like they're making a push towards some cold skills there. Leaves behind a puddle of cold on the ground that chills enemies for 3 seconds, deals cold damage. Neat. Multi-shot, skill rune, suppression fire has been redesigned, now causes multi-shot to knock back the first 2 enemies hit. That could be good or bad depending on the group that you're playing, and 2 enemies isn't too much. Maybe there'll be some gear in there that changes some stuff, who knows. Sentry has been redesigned. Oh no. Cooldown has been removed, so you can just pop those. I'm sure that'll be a little bit dependent on your attack speed as far as how quickly you can get those up. Now has 2 charges with a recharge time of 8 seconds. Recharge time is affected by cooldown reduction, so we'll see how much that is involved. Hatred cost reduced from 30 to 20, so it looks like you'll be able to get those up a little bit quicker. How much this is, well, I shouldn't say a little quicker. It's just going to see, depending on how this goes, I'm sure this is going to be ever evolving as far as how they set it up. Now it has 2 charges. If that just means you only have 2 sentries that you can put up, that obviously changes the sentry build. Whether whether custom engineering is still going to affect that, whether the Marauder set, the Hell Trapper, all those items. We're going to see exactly how this works, and it'll be very interesting to see what direction they do go with. Smoke screen cooldown increased from 2 to 3 seconds. They probably got tired of the permanent smoke screen guys, and you can't blame them. It seemed like a bit of an exploit, but it did work, and it's part of the game, so you can't blame people for using it. Skill rune choking gas has been removed, now replaced with vanishing powder. Removes the discipline cost, but increases the cooldown to 8 seconds. So that'd be interesting. That's kind of a neat one right there. To come around every 8 seconds, and if you got some good cooldown reduction, then maybe that's something that works very well there. Spike trap, skill rune echoing blast, damage change from poison to cold. A lot of stuff changing from poison to cold here. Passive skills, here's custom engineering. Now increases the maximum number of charges and active sentries from 2 to 3. So there you go. There's the answer to our question as we read through this. I'm going through this the same way as if you guys would, and I'm just trying to bring it to you in a little bit verbal action. That way you don't have to go through and read it yourself. And just kind of give you a couple things that I think about this, if you guys actually care about that kind of thing. Night Stalker has been redesigned, now causes your primary skills to generate an additional 4 hatred, as opposed to discipline that's not going to be hatred. And I think that'll be pretty interesting. Again, we're gonna see a lot more changes as we come out. I think the preliminary patch notes is just a way for them to respond to the leaked information that came out there. And I don't blame them. I mean, they want to take some credit for the work that they've done, right? For the Monk, active skills is the only one they've shown so far. Epiphany bug fixes fixed an issue that could sometimes cause players to get stuck on a wall when teleporting with Epiphany. I have never personally experienced that. I don't think I've seen that, but I'm guessing that sucks really bad. Witch Doctor, active skills. The only thing that we've got so far is Haunt. Skill rune with Grasping Spirit has been removed, replaced with Poison Spirit. Haunted enemies take 20% increased damage from all sources. Damage type change from cold to poison. That's a pretty big boost there. That'll be an interesting one. Wizard, not sure if I like this or not. I was hoping that they were going to change up some of the different Hydras. Pre 2.1, Hydras were really weak. Post 2.1, Hydras became really strong. And mostly the Mammoth Hydra. I wish that they would probably just keep the other ones in place. I don't know exactly what they're planning on doing with this. But they are nerfing this really hard. And we're going to see exactly how well this works. I am kind of curious, though. You'll see there on the second part, attack speed now affects how fast each Hydra head attacks. I'm really curious. They're obviously nerfing the damage, but they're increasing the attack speed. And One of the items that's out there, it's the one to where the Hydra, the Cold Hydra, can cast. Um, Gosh, what is the one? It's the wizard skill that freezes stuff. I'm really curious to see how much or how quickly that'll go, or whether that's still on an internal cooldown there. Really curious to see exactly what direction this is going to go. A lot of small attacks might be bigger than a lot of really slow. If you played the Mammoth Hydra, you know that it does attack slow and it's hard to chase stuff down with that thing. So maybe this is a good thing. You'll probably have an entire room full of fire with this, so that'll be pretty interesting. Bug fixes fixed an issue that prevented players from being healed by life per kill when an enemy was killed by a pet. That's a good thing to have there, especially, again, if you're playing a pet doctor. Items, life on hit and life regeneration have been increased by 25% at all levels. That's pretty big. Again, life on hit and life regeneration, they're nerfing, health globes again, but they're making a huge push. I know they tried to do that again in 2.1, is make that push towards life on hit and life regeneration. It's still, it's somewhat viable, but it seems like it's going to be even more viable. They're just making a continued push towards there instead of relying so much on health globes, which is kind of a traditional Diablo way, but that's okay. Ancient items have been added to the game. Now, we went over that briefly in the BlizzCon patch notes or in the BlizzCon notes that we had. Ancient items are more powerful versions of legendary items. They had a couple examples, one being the Maximus, showing that it increases the damage of the weapon itself. So you're going to see a lot of, really cool legendary items there. Ancient items roll from increased value ranges for certain affixes. So again, they're just boosting the hell out of it. Ancient items can now drop at Torment 1 or higher. The drop chance will increase with each Torment level. That'll be really good. I'm not sure if that's necessarily going to affect, or if the drop rate is going to be any bit affected from rifts. But at least as the higher Torment you play, the more benefit that you'll get out of that. Any legendary or set item has a chance to be dropped or crafted as an ancient item. So that'll be pretty interesting to see what... I guess there's going to be new patterns that you're going to be able to find if you can craft stuff. Or whether that or they just automatically allow you to just use certain items, whether there's certain crafting materials. So that'll be pretty interesting. Legendary or set items purchased from Kadala have a chance to be an ancient item. I imagine the drop chance on that from her is going to be pretty low, but it'll be very rewarding for some. Bottomless Potion of Fear, new legendary potion, fears enemies within 12 yards for 3 to 4 seconds on use. That'll be pretty interesting. For certain builds, you get stuff on you and you don't want it on you. If you're not a melee class and you're not in there fighting, you don't want stuff around you, so you can find a way to get it off of you. I think that's pretty interesting. That sounds like one I'll probably be using on, say, maybe my wizard or something like that. Be pretty interesting to see how it works. Several existing legendary items have been updated to include a unique legendary power. Keep in mind, existing items will not be affected by the following changes. That's very important when you're going to new patches to realize that doesn't come through on the update. You're just going to have to farm up new stuff. Broken Crown legendary power added whenever a gem drops. A gem of the type socketed into this item also drops. So if you have an amethyst put into your helm, a gem of that type will also drop. I don't know the additional gem. Oh, okay. The additional gem that is dropped will be of the same quality level as the original gem that was dropped. So if you have your gems boosted all the way up, which isn't a big deal. If you haven't watched the gold farming video that we have and you've been playing a while, that's a good way to boost up all of your gems on the cheap, I guess, so long as you have them. But that's going to be pretty cool because if you can get those big ones... The only thing that I wish, if they're doing this, that they would add is that you can downgrade your gems, because if you could break those down, especially if you're rolling, Imperial gems to roll on your I guess it was, say, jewelry on your rings and amulets, that would be really nice if you could break those down to the lower level and just break them into 3. Hell, I'd be happy if they just broke them down into 2, and then you'd be able to, use those towards when you're trying to roll stuff at the Enchantress. Class-specific items, Demon Hunter, Embodiment of the Marauder. Philosophy note. The following changes are not intended to be a nerf to Demon Hunters or the Embodiment of the Marauder set, and additional tuning may be necessary. So don't get too hyped up on this. This is going to be, a big change for the current builds. I mean, right now there's one build that you can run with. I mean, in terms of you need the full Marauder set, and that's all you can do is pop sentries. for all the people that are gearing up towards then, there's not a lot you can do, and it's tough. You know, it's tough to get all 6 pieces, or at least 5 in the Royal Ring of Grandeur. So it looks like they're changing a lot of stuff, and I'm sure as the PTR goes live, it's going to be changed even more. So we'll see what direction they go. The 2-set bonus now increases the damage of your hatred generators by 40% for every sentry you have active. I know that there was something in the datamined stuff about how I think it's a ring that also boosts your sentry damage, so it looks like it's going to be a full-on set if you want to go that route. So it looks like if you get the right type of gear, you can probably really make this useful. The 6-piece bonus sentries now cast your hatred spinners every time you do and deal 100% increased damage. That's a pretty big number right there. We'll see if there's any other changes as we go through here in terms of gear. That's just something to really look forward to as far as a change goes. The Hell Trapper. The Caltrop sentries and spike traps summoned by this item can no longer exceed the normal cap of those skills. So that goes back to our previous question as far as the sentries that are going to be coming up. So you're not going to be able to have 3 sentries up and then cast with your Hell Trapper and get 2 extras with custom engineering. So that kind of sucks. The monk, they're changing the monkey garbs, or the Monkey King's garb. Philosophy note, with only some minor adjustments to supporting gear, build, and playstyle, monks with 4 pieces of the updated Monkey King's garb should be able to match or even exceed their previous best Greater Rift time and level. With a complete optimization of the new set bonuses, monks should easily, or at least reliably, exceed their previous best Greater Rift and time levels. So they're definitely redoing this. I know a lot of people probably aren't going to like the change. But it's a change that was probably necessary. The 2-piece bonus on this, casting Cyclone Strike, Exploding Palm, Lashing Tail, Kick, Tempest Rush, or Wave of Light Rush, causes a decoy to spawn that taunts enemies nearby and then explodes for 1000% weapon damage. We know that. That's why you get the Flying Dragon. You attack really fast. Decoy Explosion now deals the damage type of your highest elemental damage. The 4-piece bonus, enemies hit by the decoy explosion take 500% more damage from your Cyclone Strike and the other ones that we mentioned before for 3 seconds. So next up, the Firebirds, of course, had to change, I guess, to a certain extent. It was pretty much the only way to go for a long time. Again, I think there's going to be a lot of wizard changes that are going to be coming up. They're going to make a lot more diversity. But the Infinite Dot no longer deals damage to Rift Guardians if the player gets too far away. That really sucks because you could pretty much run to the other side of the map and just let it kill them. And that's pretty much the only way you could do it. You just dot them up and run away. Going back within the allowed range should resume the dot damage. So I imagine that might be a little bit buggy. It's going to be hard to figure out exactly what that range is, and you're just going to have to play with it and see how it goes. New seasonal legendary items. We've got all kinds of stuff that's going to be on seasons that I'm going to miss out on. New legendary gems, the Esoteric Alteration, the Gem of Ease, and the Molten Wildebeest Gizzard. We went over those in the BlizzCon notes that we had. There's going to be a lot going on there, and we're going to go through here. There is a lot of notes going on as far as the changes. The new seasonal legendaries, definitely for you seasonal players, are probably going to enjoy these the most. The Esoteric one gained 10% non-physical damage reduction, and then the upgrade rank grants 0.5% non-physical damage reduction for every time you upgrade. Rank 25 unlocks, while below half-life, your resistances to all the elements there are increased by 75%. Gem of Ease, monster kills grant 1,000 experience. That's going to be pretty cool because you're going to be able to level that up, because if you can get in early and get in stuff, you can pass this around. Again, power leveling is a big thing, and this is one of those things that, you know, they're trying to make it a little bit easier, I guess, for people in seasons that want to play multiple characters, but, you know, it takes a little bit, or you got to find somebody. This looks like it'll benefit people quite a bit, so that's a good thing to rank up on one of your high characters once you get them up, and then you can pass it on to your other guys and rank them up as well. The upgrade rank, you know, you can look through all that. Level requirement reduced to 1 once you rank it up to level 25, so you'll be able to pass it on to one of your new guys that you're making. The Molten Wildebeest regenerates 10,000 life per second. Again, they're pushing the life regen. Upgrade rank grants 1,000 life per second, so as you rank that up. Rank 25 unlocks after not taking damage for 4 seconds. Gain an Absorb Shield for 200% of your total life per second. So obviously, if you got this ranked up, and then you get this going, you're going to have a huge shield going on there. especially depending on if you're a ranged character, that might work really well for you to get that absorb shield. Class specific items, the Crusader looks like they get a new belt, and every 6 to 8 seconds bombardment is cast on a random nearby enemy. I would love to be in a group with 4 Crusaders with that belt on and just watch bombardment go all over the place. That'd be pretty fun. The Demon Hunter Odyssey's End, that's a new legendary bow. Enemies snared by entangling shot take 20 to 25% more damage from all sources. That's pretty cool. It looks like there might be a chance for extreme diversity in terms of Demon Hunter builds. That way you could go with multiple skill damages from different ones, and you can boost that up, especially, you know, don't forget your weapon damage counts in there. So that's pretty cool. I think that'll definitely open up some diversity for the Demon Hunter there. The Wizard Ransler's Folly, its new legendary bracers, energy twister periodically pulls in an enemy within 30 yards. This is awesome. You know, this almost makes me want to play a seasonal character, but we're going to look at this. They're making a huge change to Energy Twister. Like we said in the BlizzCon notes, they've got a bunch of stuff coming up, and it's really going to be exciting in terms of Energy Twister and Slow Time and the different, you know, gear that's going to be able to apply to different stuff. So it's going to be really interesting. These are currently still using the placeholder name Energy Twister Bracers, so good name, Blizzard. Several existing class-specific legendary items have been updated to include a unique legendary power. So you're going to see a couple here. The Barbarian, the Undisputed Champion, and they actually gave us a note here, which is a belt. Legendary power added. Frenzy gains the effect of every rune. That'll be pretty interesting. Again, they're pushing Frenzy up there. We'll see if it's good to carry 2 one-handers or a 2-hander. We'll see what's going on there. Gungdo gear. This has a legendary power added. Exploding Palms on death explosion applies Exploding Palm. So it looks like that is going to be kind of like the Marked for Death Contagion, to where it can kind of apply to those things around it once one dies. So that'll be pretty interesting, especially for the tank monks out there that maybe dot stuff up with that. I guess I should just say tag them. Wormwood. Locust Swarm is cast on a nearby enemy every second. That's pretty interesting. Now rolls with 20 to 25% poison skill damage as one of its 4 primary affixes. That's pretty neat. I kind of like that. The Wormwood also looks cool, at least in my opinion. A couple bug fixes. Fixed an issue that allowed damage from Gem of Efficacious Toxin to be reflected back onto the player. Thank God they're fixing that. Fixed an issue that prevented the damage bonus from Bane of the Trap from being applied to enemies that are blinded or charmed. Fixed an issue that prevented Invigorating Gemstone from correctly reducing your damage taken while frozen or blind. And lastly, fixed an issue that prevented Invigorating Gemstone from correctly healing you when you were hit by a blind effect. They've got new achievements. I'll let you guys look through those. There's more stuff coming in the adventure mode. Again, there's a lot of new stuff coming as far as content goes. That's really cool to look forward to. Bounties that were disabled after patch 2.1.0 have been re-enabled. The following events have received several changes, including changes to their completion requirements. If you guys remember those, more power to you. Clear the Barracks. Not a big fan of that one. Nephilim Rifts. Players can no longer resurrect at a checkpoint. That sucks, because if you got clever with everything, you would get near the end of a level. You would go ahead and hop in the next level, so that you could go back in the previous level, and in case you died, you could spawn in the level below you, as opposed to going all the way back to the beginning of the one that you were from the beginning. So it looks like they're trying to eliminate that sneaky business, although I thought it was pretty clever. Maybe they should just came up with something other than checkpoints. Players now resurrect a corpse after a delay. The respawn timer will increase with every death, and that, if you've died enough in one area, you know that actually happens already. It just only happens after you die too many times. So it'll be curious to see exactly what kind of timer they put on that, but I think that's going to be far less of a headache for a lot of people, and I'm really glad that they're taking care of that. Running through an entire level about 3 times because you died over and over becomes really frustrating. The amount of gold and experience awarded upon completion of a Greater Rift has been increased. That's really nice, because I was getting less experience and gold by doing these Greater Rifts than I was just going out and farming some regular stuff. There's a known issue. Greater Rifts from level 26 on are currently more rewarding than intended and will be adjusted. Not sure what I think about that, Blizzard. Many maps have received changes to the way their layouts can be generated for Nephilim and greater rifts. That's really, really huge. I know they're working on a lot of stuff to make it a little bit more continuous, and more power to them for that. Monsters. Monster density has been increased in several greater rifts and Nephilim rifts. Thank goodness on the greater part of that. I know there's been huge lulls in time where you're way ahead of the timer, and the next thing you know, you hit a dead spot, and things just fall apart after that. Monster damage in greater rifts level 26 and higher has been reduced. So we're going to be clearing much higher greater rifts. We're increasing our defense. We're increasing the vitality that we have there and the toughness. And then they're reducing the damage. So I imagine the level 51, I think, where everybody's kind of capping out right there, high 40s, right around 50. I imagine that number is going to go quite a bit higher. The following Rift Guardians have received several changes. They should be less frustrating, but still dangerous. Rhyme is my personal nemesis, especially on melee characters. Look at that. Rhyme was an unfair opponent for melee players. No kidding. Couldn't even get close to him. The fight has been restructured so that this AoE can no longer overlap and the duration of each has been reduced. In addition, his ranged attack should be more threatening to ranged characters. Well, my Demon Hunter's not going to like that, but my Barbarian will certainly appreciate this quite a bit. Arathon has received minor changes to his dash attack. The AoE element has been replaced with a ranged attack to give more challenge to ranged characters. I think melee characters had a little bit to complain about this last patch. Blood Maw. Blood Maw presented an unchallenging and unfair fight due to a combination of one-shot damaging abilities, stuns, and AoE damage. This one is my personal favorite. To watch this go after some people because it becomes absolutely brutal. His leap attack has been modified to address these concerns, but will trigger more often to make the fight feel more dynamic. I guess that's a nice trade-off. Shield Pylon now reflects damage back to attackers. I believe there's going to be more going to that. We're going to wait and see. I know there was some talk about an explosion coming at the end, so we'll see. Speed Pylon duration has been increased from 30 seconds to 1 minute. I'm not a big fan of the Speed Pylon, but it looks like some of this stuff will actually make it worthwhile. Now knocks enemies into the air and deals damage to them. Now breaks Waller for the full duration. We'll see how well that works. I'm not a fan of Speed Pylon too much. Realm of Trials. The time between waves has been shortened, so that'll make it a little less painful. I didn't think it was too bad. Minor changes have been made to the types of monsters that can spawn. Those pesky ones that stun you, hopefully those guys go away. Rewards now scale based upon the rank of the keystone you receive. Thank goodness. No need in standing there and still getting the 1 million experience. I'm glad they're adjusting that. Keystone of Trials no longer plays the legendary item sound or displays the legendary item minimap when dropped. Okay, that's fine. Fixed an issue that allowed follower skills to be changed while in a greater rift. I guess they're fixing that. Templar fixed an issue that caused Inspire to grant an incorrect amount of wrath regeneration. I believe that was on part of the data mine. Instead of 2.5 per second, it was going to 1. I don't know if that was specifically for that or whether that's going to be for all of them. And lastly, for the monsters, the extra health and vampiric monster fixes have been removed from the game. That sucks because that just... The extra health one, I understand because, people want to be able to kill stuff to get through. I think they should just make that a weighted value, but it seems to be going away. Vampiric because they were healing off of you. The only reason I don't like that is because that means they'll probably get some other fixes that I don't want them to have. Anarchs, maximum dash range has been reduced. This I've been pleading about for forever. Playing a ranged character, those things are hitting me from outside of the screen and me not even seeing them, and sometimes causing me to die, and that's not cool. Now has a short dash that will be used at close range. That's fine. Corrupted Angel, maximum dash range has been reduced. Again, hate those guys. Unholy Shield has been removed. That's good too. Inferno Zombie, reduce the monster's XP, damage, and survivability to bring it in line with other zombies. Okay, thanks. Punisher. Those big guys with the big arms that look like blades, those guys' maximum leap range has been reduced, and the stun duration has been reduced. That's good. Those guys are worth a lot in greater rifts, but sometimes that leap range was just a little bit too much. Lastly, Treasure Goblins. New Treasure Goblins have been added to the game. Be on the lookout for the Jewel Hoarder, the Blood Thief, the Odious Collector, and another malevolent little bugger. We went over those guys. You're going to see crafting materials. You're going to see a gem dropping one. You're going to see a blood shard dropping one. So there's going to be a lot of different stuff there. And the new treasure goblins can only be found in adventure mode, and that makes perfect sense. They also now always appear in front of a portal, so that's good. They now have a special mini-map icon, and I know that this has been round and round and round for a couple years now, and they continue to modify the treasure goblins to optimize them, I guess, for maximum visibility. Now only drop their best loot on Torment 1 difficulty or above. Thank you. I'm glad that they're addressing that. So we'll see how that works, just specifically in terms of their best loot and what that really is. Some changes have been made to the way treasure goblins try to escape. That'll be pretty interesting. Whether they're able to pop a portal and teleport somewhere else, I'll be curious to see exactly how that plays out. That's it, guys, as far as the preliminary notes. If you watched the video, like I said, of the datamined stuff, some of that still might make its way into here, but it looks like Blizzard took this time out to kind of answer those things. They wanted to have a little bit of stuff up, add a little bit of clarity. It probably lit up the forums a little bit once all that information leaked. So it looks like they're doing their own bit of work here, and I don't blame them. So be on the lookout, guys, for more information coming. If you made it to the duration of here, I definitely appreciate you watching while we covered all of the upcoming PTR patch notes. Again, stick around as we do more. As we get the PTR going live, you're going to find that I'm going to do a lot of streaming so that you can see a lot of testing and maybe stuff that might be working coming up. We're going to be doing some videos as well that we'll be putting on YouTube this time around as opposed to keeping them secret. And so be on the lookout for a lot of that information. We'll give you all the stuff you need to know as far as gear that you can farm up in patch 2.1.1 that will be relevant still in 2.1.2 and hopefully help you guys gear up a little bit before all that hits. Looks like we still got a lot of time and a lot of testing to do, so be patient and be on the lookout for more upcoming videos. Guys, thanks for watching. As always, happy hunting. We'll see you next time.